Friday morning, March the 29th, 2024, live from the Deep End Broadcasting Studios. I am Stephen Murray. This is the Round Robin Rise and Shine edition as we attempt to get this body clock adjusted to doing an early morning program after a wild night of March Madness, Major League Baseball, etc., etc. It is the weekend. We are live 6 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, as we will be every Tuesday through Friday morning here on the Deep End Broadcasting Network. So a lot to get into. We'll go ahead and recap the action from yesterday right off the bat, and then we'll get into everything that we're looking at for today. A little bit slower of a slate for Major League Baseball today, as a few teams will have the day off, and they'll get things going back with the full weekend tomorrow and Sunday. And they always do that the first couple of days where I think last year, everyone played on the very first day, and then it was sporadic, the games on the second day, and that will be the case today. Now, originally, all the games were slated to be played at night, but with a couple of rainouts with the Mets and the Brewers and the Phillies and the Braves, we'll get 2 afternoon games. So that'll get you something to look into for this afternoon before we get into the basketball tonight and the baseball games tonight. You do have a full morning of Championship League soccer, full day, actually. Games get started here in about 90 minutes. Actually, I think at 8:30 Eastern Standard Time, so 2.5 hours. A lot of games at 11, and then you have a couple afternoon games as well. So really, if you want to fill your whole sports day, you can. There's still a golf tournament out there as we creep up to the Masters, which is still a couple of weeks away. NASCAR race in Richmond here on Easter weekend, which they never used to race on Easter. It used to be the God's day and the holiday for everyone to take off, but with the full schedule, there are no off weeks in NASCAR. So there will be a race in Richmond, which will be a night race for Sunday, which will be kind of interesting. So we'll get into that as well. But we need to talk about the basketball first and get my thoughts on that. In the early slate, well, let's start with Carolina, because that's going to be the one that hits home with most people as a number 1 seed that does go down. They lose to Alabama by 2 points. That is the only game that does go over the total, and they barely creep over by 2 points with that high over-under final score there, 87-85 in favor of 89-87 in favor of Alabama. I was hoping for Alabama to score somewhere in the 70s, not quite up in the 80s. We would have hit a mass jackpot if that were the case. But the Tar Heels were their own worst enemy in that regard last night. The way that Clemson played against Arizona is the way that North Carolina needed to play against Alabama. We've heard so much about the North Carolina Tar Heels having this great defense, and that they're going to be able to lock teams back down a little bit more, good perimeter, 3-point defense as well. And they just got into that running game with Alabama in the first half, and that came back to bite them. Now, to Alabama's credit, they're the ones who are able to play that kind of slug, punch you in the mouth kind of game. We had a lower scoring second half with just 76 points compared to the 100 points scored there in the first half. But I think North Carolina would have benefited a lot more if they just didn't get into that running game up and down the court with Alabama. And I think that at the end of the day, that's kind of what bit them. They weren't able to make shots when they needed to. Where they had some red hot shooting there in the first half. They went cold there in the second half. And yeah, Alabama does have some defensive flaws. So you would think that North Carolina, if they are aggressive on offense, can just, outrun them if they really, really wanted to, with being able to play enough defense to stop them. But you got to give Alabama credit. They made plays when they absolutely had to. That one kid for them, Fernando, is that his? No, that's what's that kid's name? He was fantastic for him. He seemed to make every big shot when he needed to. Sears, the point guard, plays well as well. Just fast, a little tricky kid. And then, North Carolina, when they had some shots that they should make, just were not able to do it. The big man down low showed up when he had to. And you got to give Alabama credit. They beat the Tar Heels, and they sent the number one seed packing. Aaron Estrada is the kid I was thinking about for Alabama. He comes in really, really clutch. And Grant Nelson, the big man, played very, very well, handled his own against Baycott. In fact, you can argue he definitely was better, especially down the stretch, enough for the Crimson Tide to take the Tar Heels out. So if you have Carolina in your bracket, you are done in that regard. And Alabama will get Clemson next, who played fantastic against Arizona. Now, they've been playing great all tournament. And where has this come from, do you ask? Because they are one and done in the ACC tournament. Just over a 500 team in conference play. But you can kind of see that they've always had this formula. Hunter's a great little player. He's hot at the right time. They have two big men who work very well off of each other as well. And I will say this, if talking about Shefflin, talking about Hall, if Clemson can stay the course and slow things down again, kind of like how they did against Arizona, try to keep things slower a little bit more under controlled, good team basketball, not herky-jerky with passing like the Tar Heels were doing at times, kind of looking just out of control in sorts. If Clemson can just kind of play good level-headed basketball like they've been doing, then I think they have a shot for sure to get into that Final Four and take out Alabama. They're going to have some size over Alabama as well. They have good guard play that can duplicate that output that Alabama has. And I just like how those two big guys, Shefflin and Hall, work off of each other. Very technical, savvy team are the Clemson Tigers. And they were impressive against Arizona. Every time Arizona would come back and you think they were getting ready to take charge, and this happened in the game before this as well, Clemson able just to kind of fend them off. Once they're starting to get scratched from behind, they're able to just kind of keep you at arm's length, re-stretch the lead out a little bit. You get a little bit closer again. They re-stretch the lead out again. And then next thing you know, the sands of the hour clock are out and you're in trouble. So you got to give Clemson full credit for playing very, very, very good team basketball last evening. Illinois does enough to hold off Iowa State. They have a good size halftime lead, up by 10 at halftime. They end up winning the game by 3, 72-69. And the Illinois Illini look like a team that wants to keep moving forward. They'll get UConn next, who won by 30 points. And that's the impressive thing about UConn, just in the same way that I talked about Clemson. Every time San Diego State would try to nip at their heels there in the first half, and UConn would sit there and pull away with a little 5 to 7 point spurt. And then San Diego State, once they went cold there in the second half, it was lights out for them. UConn able to run away with this thing and win the game by 30 points in a blowout. I had Clemson, I had UConn, and I had the Alabama team points under, which is going to be my downfall on the jackpot at the end of the day. Hey, but we had a good day, and we're not going to complain about that, as we definitely cashed a few tickets out. Major League Baseball, love hitting that right off of the bat. And I talked yesterday about how we could have some lower scoring games first day back. You have all the ace pitchers going, et cetera, et cetera. And watch out, because in previous years, that has not been the case. We've had higher scoring games and things could definitely go sideways. So I didn't play any first 5 inning unders. I didn't play any unders at all. Just kind of watching with caution. But what I went ahead and did is played some first inning lines. And what I did there is I like to play the first inning under 1 run prop. It's good satisfaction. It's, 2 good pitchers, just get me 3 outs and when we get home. And I tried to hook a couple of these guys together for good success. Now, I learned a good lesson yesterday by just kind of playing and investigating the lines, where it really saved the day for me and got me a nice winning ticket. And what I'm talking about is, if you like to play the first inning, no run scored, or yes run scored. If you like to play the yes run scored, I don't think this theory applies to you. It really doesn't. It really only matters for the no run scored, because what I'm talking about is the alternate bet of doing a first inning result. They actually have a 3-way of the first inning where you can pick either team to be winning with the money line, or you can bet the tie. Now, what I noticed when I was looking at the lines for the tie, which is essentially 0-0, no runs in the first inning, the juice on the tie is just a little bit off of the juice of the under no run in the first inning. So my theory was, well, if I'm getting just about the same juice for a tie, why wouldn't I just take the tie instead of a no run in the first inning? And in case someone goes up 1-0 on me in the top of the first, I have that opportunity to get that run back and still be live in the bet. And that was the case yesterday with the Twins and the Royals game, where the Twins were able to get a home run there in the top of the first inning. The Royals were able to answer with a leadoff home run in the bottom of the first. There you have it, 1-1. The tie bet wins, where the under in the first inning of a half a run would have lost. And we go ahead and take out the winning ticket. So the other ones that were part of that winning ticket were the Tigers and the White Sox. The Tigers won 1-0 yesterday. Also had the Pirates and the Marlins. For those teams got off 6-5. Winners are the Pirates in 12 innings. Fun game there. Big comeback for the Pirates. I had the Giants and the Padres tie in the first inning. They didn't really get going until, well, everyone seemed to score in the second inning, which makes me think I really got lucky. And then all the runs poured in late in that game. Padres win that one 6-4. The other one I think I had were the Nationals and the Reds. The Reds able to get up to a big 7-0 lead before winning that game 8-2. And then I think that was it. Yeah. So all those guys together was enough to get a win. Other things that stood out yesterday in Major League Baseball. How about the Orioles? Their lineup just looks fantastic. The Angels, if that's the pitching they're going to put out on day one, I don't know what that says for about the rest of their rotation. So we're going to put them immediately on the watch list to be a bad team. Potentially just 2 hits for the Angels yesterday as the Orioles romp 11-3. So the Orioles picking up right where they left off last season. And they just have so much talent. I don't know how they're not going to be standing in the playoffs there at the end of the day. They're really going to, even if they get injuries, they have the talent that can come up from Norfolk to fill the boots. So Orioles with a big win. Yankees rally from 4 runs down to win 5-4. Juan Soto with a fantastic throw out at home to save the day. Not necessarily save the day, but that was enough to preserve the win where the Astros could have tied it there in the bottom of the 9th. So the Yankees with a nice rally to win that one. We talked about the Pirates coming back to win. They were down 5-2. In fact, that's what I had. I went ahead and took after my ties of the first inning play hit. I went ahead and just fed a little tiny play on the Yankees and the Pirates to both come back and win their games in a little parlay, and that hit. So that was a nice, another nice little runner that I had, and I hit a nice little live line on the March Madness as well with Clemson and UConn. Let's see, Dodgers, they win 7-1, so they coast over Michaelis. We told you Michaelis might have a rough day, and he did. The Dodgers were able to get to him early. The Blue Jays got edged them a little bit yesterday, and they win 8-2. So that was a decent call by the studio here. Rangers win 4-3 over the Cubs. Justin Steele. I always want to say James Steele. I just don't know why. But Justin Steele pitches very well, keeps the Cubs in there, but the Rangers are able to win that in extra innings 4-3. Guardians thump Oakland 8-0. The Red Sox, maybe in the surprise of the day to some, get out early on the West Coast. 11 hits for the Red Sox, 0 errors, and a 6-4 winner at Seattle last night. And how about the Diamondbacks? 14 runs in the third inning against the Rockies, and the Diamondbacks win 16-1 over Freeland. We figured the Diamondbacks could get to them. We like that as I think the best, better play of the day yesterday with the Diamondback team runs are for them to win by a large margin. Them and the Orioles were really the two best bets, and that's what they did. They won combined 27-4. So that's going to be an easy walkover if that's what you ended up doing there. All right. So NBA, let's talk about that real quick. We'll recap that. Boston with another bad loss in Atlanta. They lose on the last second, literally 0.1 seconds left on the clock in overtime. DeJounte Murray gets the job done for the Hawks as they send the Boston packing on their road trip out of Atlanta, where they sat there for 3 days and incurred 2 losses. So the Hawks win 123-122. DeJounte Murray, 44 points in that effort, 7 rebounds, 7 assists for him. And the Pelicans hold off a rally late by Milwaukee, and they win 107-100. So the Bucks continue to struggle. It's just 17-19 on the road are Milwaukee. Pelicans have been a nice team this season. They're 45-28 overall as they jockey for seeding there in the West. All right. So that's the NBA. NHL, let's go ahead and take a quick look at that. And we'll see what kind of sticks out there from last night as well. I know our Capitals got thumped up in Toronto. Big losers there, 5-1. Canadians take out the Flyers 4-1. Senators in the meaningless game 2-0 over the Blackhawks. The Islanders with the win down in South Beach. So Florida would have been one of my better plays in the hockey last night. I didn't get too invested in any of that, but they win 3-2. The Penguins beat the Blue Jackets as the Blue Jackets are on an immediate fade. They can't win anything, but the Penguins win 3-2 in that game. Hurricanes take out the Red Wings 4-0. The Hurricanes just really strong at home. The Blues, who we liked yesterday, beat the Flames 5-3. Calgary is about ready to check out for the season. They're basically on the fade train as well, as are the San Jose Sharks. They lose in Minnesota 3-1. The Golden Knights still trying to stay pretty hot. 4-1 winners at Winnipeg. for them. The Rangers win in a shootout in Colorado, a game that we thought may get to overtime, does 3-2 winners for them. Edmonton with a nice win against the Kings at home, 4-1. The Stars flex their muscles in Vancouver. They win 3-1. Arizona puts a halt to the Predators' win streak. The Predators haven't lost in 18 games until last night. The Coyotes, tough little stadium that they play in. Good home ice advantage for them. They get the job done 8-4. And the Ducks, it looks like they've checked out for the season. They lose back-to-back now in Seattle, 4-2. All right, so that's your recap of everything that happened yesterday. All right, let's get into the slate for today. We'll start with the March Madness, as we'll go ahead and queue everything up on there. See if we can get some fresh lines. All right. And just looking from the outside in, and I'm going to have to let this soak in a little bit more for today. Just looking from the outside in before yesterday, I was thinking that yesterday's action was going to be a little bit more predictable than tonight's. And I still feel like that's the case. Coming with a cautious eye here. Things are going to really have to stick out to me during the day. But, I mean, what else is there more to learn about these teams, really, that you don't know? Well, we'll just try to get into it, I guess, now. Now, NC State, they're the one Cinderella story, an 11 seed still sticking around. They'll get number 2, Marquette. They'll catch 6.5. Over under is 151.5. Now, everyone likes Marquette, and Shaka Smart does have a really, really good team here, disciplined team. They played well, very deserving to be where they are at this point of the bracket. And if they advance, it's not going to shock me at all. Or if the Marquette Golden Eagles end up in a Final Four, they're just that good of a team. They would love nothing more than to see UConn again at some point. But NC State just has that. They just have that slipper story. I mean, it really does remind you of his 1983 team with Jimmy Valvano, where they go on this amazing run. They need to win all the games in the ACC tournament that year, as they did this year. They won 5 games in 5 days. Then they won twice against 2 good teams here in the first couple of rounds. And here they are in the Sweet 16. If their season were to end today, then, they're going to still walk out feeling really good about themselves and what they've accomplished here in the last couple of weeks. But you just get that sense they just don't want that to end yet. And the story will grow and grow a little bit more if they can just get one more win here. DJ Birds is fantastic. If you don't know anything about him, he's literally a giant. He makes me look like a midget, literally. He is the big man, soft feet, nice touchdown low. They have good guard play. He has a good compliment in Diarra. So NC State's going to be a formidable opponent here for Marquette. You can't expect Marquette just to walk all over him tonight. So I expect a good competitive game, exciting game. I would lean with NC State in the points, actually. I'm not going to be shocked if NC State can win this game outright. You would think if Marquette was going to be that set in stone, they might actually be a little bit more of a bigger favorite in this scenario. So for all those reasons, I'm going to just take a flyer on NC State at the end of the day, and I think I'll take a flyer on them to win this game. I really do think this ACC is underrated. We've heard so much talk about how bad the ACC has been, but just look what Clemson has done. Duke, they're hot at the right time. We'll get into them in a minute. And NC State themselves, I mean, they really, really are mirroring this team. UConn, if you think about UConn when they beat Butler with Shabazz Napier and Kemba Walker back in, I think, 2008. Is that when it was? UConn had to win 5 games in 5 days in the Big East tournament. And then they went out ahead and made that amazing run in the NCAAs. NC State kind of reminds you of that. But, again, they still have a lot of formidable competition down the road if they can get past Marquette. So a fun game, interesting one, and that's the first one on the slate tonight, 7:09. I'm going to lean Wolfpack, mainly because I'm a homer here in ACC country and nothing more than that. 7:39 Eastern, we'll have Gonzaga and Purdue. This is a rematch of a game that they played in Hawaii in the is it the Maui Gym is what they call it. It used to be the Maui Invitational anyway. Whatever they changed the name of that tournament now. Maybe it's still the Maui Invitational. You get all these preseason tournaments confused in college basketball. But Gonzaga, with poor shooting, actually led Purdue at halftime in that game before Purdue was able to have a nice second half. And these teams have played each other a decent amount of times here in the last few years. So there is some familiarity with each other. And I think at the end of the day, that does help Gonzaga because they know how to play Edey maybe a little bit more. He's not going to be like an unknown commodity when they face him. But something just tells me that, and this has been a little bit of a down year for Gonzaga, that this is just the time for Purdue. I mean, you almost get that sense with Alabama kind of advancing last night. Maybe they're due to have some good luck. You almost get that feeling with Tennessee, who plays on the slate tonight. They're due to get past the Sweet 16 game with their coach. And you feel that with Matt Painter. Maybe this is his time to really, really make that deep run where Purdue has been kicked out of the tournament early by some of these mid-major teams here in the previous years. So a big test for Purdue tonight with Gonzaga. If they could just hold serve and advance by them, then they're going to find themselves into an Elite Eight. That's going to be further than they've been in a long, long time. I'm going to take Purdue here. I think Purdue can handle business. I like how they've been playing. I faded Gonzaga in their conference tournament, which worked out. And where the Zags have been kind of red hot here towards the end of the season, I just think Purdue is playing well, and they have enough. I mean, their guards are good. They're better than what they were. With every game in this tournament, they're getting better, you feel like. And I think this is a game that Purdue can win, and I think they can cover this number for sure as well. If Purdue were to win this game by closer to double digits, that won't shock me. 154.5 seems like a high number, which the 151.5 seems like a high number in the NC State Marquette game as well. If you took all the unders last night, then you won 3 out of the 4. I said this yesterday. If you did a blanket on all these unders, I think you're going to end up a winner at the end of the day with these 8 games. So you're 3-1 so far, if that's the case. I think 154.5 seems like a lot of points here as well. And this is another one I think could track under. And I'm going to lean with Purdue. The other thing I would look at is Gonzaga total points here. Because the big man can affect some shots. If the Zags do go cold, then they can definitely put up a 60 on you for sure. Let's see. The total points for Gonzaga are 74.5. So yeah, I would like that under for sure. 80.5 even seems a little too much for Purdue, but who knows? They could get 81, 82, win something like 82, 67, somewhere in that range. The alternate under for Gonzaga, 65.5, is at plus 410. I don't think you can rule that out. I think if you wanted to take that, you could. Under 68.5 is plus 260. That gives you a little bit more breathing space. But I think the Zags end up right there, right in the mid to upper 60s. And I think Purdue handles business and they can go on and march forward in this tournament. Duke plays Houston. This is the one where, who's banged up? Is Houston a little bit more banged up than we think? maybe with Jeremy Roach and his thumb injury, is he going to be affected by that a little bit? But he's been able to. He didn't have to play much of that game last week as the Duke cruised to victory. But this is another one right here in the ACC country where we're located in Virginia that holds to a lot of locals' hearts, a lot of Duke fans around here. But the Blue Devils catch 4.5 over under 133.5. And Houston showed that they can have a bad game. I mean, they got thumped by Iowa State, and now Iowa State's out of the tournament too. Duke just feeling like they're getting hot at the right time. So that being said, if you're going to give me a points and give me a plus number on the money line with Duke, I think I would lean that way for sure. Again, a little bit of a homer play because we're right here in ACC country, but I feel like yet we have a better feel for these teams, and I would just trust Duke at the end of the day to take out the next number 1 seed, Houston, and have Duke potentially move on here. Catching a 4.5 seems like a generous amount of points in this scenario. Now, can Houston come out and play their smothering defense? Sure they can. But if that's going to be the case, Duke's going to do the same thing. They're going to be very defensively sound as well. So 133.5 does seem high in that regard. I could see this being, 68, 66 right there on the number at the end of the day, which would put it over. That would be like 134, right? So 68, 63, somewhere in that neighborhood. I think you're right around that over-under. Would not be shocked to see it stay under. And I wouldn't be shocked to see if Duke really gets it going offensively either. I mean, if Duke can put up 80, then Houston's going to get you 60 points anyway, you figure. So that game could go over in that regard. It's really going to just depend on how hot Duke gets, how close to the vest they play, down crunch time, et cetera, et cetera. That might be so where North Carolina probably wanted to slow that game down against Alabama a little bit more. I wouldn't be shocked if Duke would want to speed it up a little bit more against Houston. All right, maybe get them in a little bit of a helter-skelter game, a little bit more uncomfortable as well. But again, you get to this point of the tournament, and then defense is going to take over. You're going to get these long thought-out possessions towards the end of the game, especially if the game is close. And that is enough of a recipe in itself a lot of times just to kind of keep a number under the total. So a good game with Duke and Houston on tap. That's a 9:39 p.m. Eastern Standard Time game. If I'm going to watch these games like I did last night, at least I won't have to get up so early in the morning tomorrow. I can definitely catch up on a little bit of the sleep. So I'll favor Duke in this one, and I'll have them move forward to the Elite Eight. Now, this is a tough game. This is the hardest one I have a time with, and that is Creighton and Tennessee, 10:09 Eastern Standard Time for that game. -2.5 for Tennessee, 144.5 here. I think it's two keys here. Can connect for Tennessee go off? If you can, then that's going to be very good for the Vols' chances to advance. And do the Vols have an answer for big Cole Brenner, the big center for Creighton? If he's able to get off, not get in foul trouble, then he's going to be an impact. Again, this is a game I think can be defensive. I think this can be under 144.5. To me, this just seems like the most logical of all the games to stay under the total. Besides the Purdue Gonzaga, that just seems like a lot of points for those two. Even though Purdue can put up a large scoring output, but to me, this one seems like the more locked under game. And if it's a low scoring game in the first half, I would not be surprised about that. The alternate total points for this under 58.5, I think is in play. You get plus 385 for that in the first half. Tennessee has played their first half games under the total. Creighton has been an under trending team as well in my mind. So I would kind of look for that. I think this is a good game, competitive. I wouldn't doubt if this game's within 1 or 2 possessions of each other the whole way throughout. Just one of those games where no one can really gain any momentum to get away from the other. A lot of lead changes, a lot of ties, et cetera, et cetera. And honestly, just not shocked if either one of these two teams advances through the bracket. So good game to cap off the night, 10:09 Eastern with Tennessee and Creighton. So if you're going to put a gun to my head here, I'm going to take NC State, Purdue, Duke, and I'll just say under in the Creighton-Tennessee game. That is such a toss-up. I want to say Creighton, but it just really doesn't shock me if Tennessee can finally, with Rick Barnes, get through this round and into the Elite Eight. All right, early lines for Saturday. We have UConn minus 8.5 and 154.5 over Illinois. So that's an interesting line. Illinois is getting a lot of points. Feisty team, and this is going to be, without a doubt, UConn's toughest matchup, I think, to date. This is going to say a lot about UConn. If they can handle Illinois pretty easily, it's going to be trouble for everyone else in this tournament, I think. This game may tell all as far as the Huskies are concerned. And the other game, Alabama is just a 3.5-point favorite over Clemson. That over-under is 164.5 in that game. And that's going to seem like a lot of points for me. And I get it. Alabama's high-flying, high-scoring. But I promise you, Clemson is not going to get in the run-and-gun game like Carolina did with Alabama. They're going to purposely slow this thing down and make sure that there are a lot less possessions available for Alabama. Clemson's able to get some offensive boards as well. They're fast to the ball. I mean, they are quick. So I think they can negate the quickness of Alabama. I think Clemson's quicker than we think that they are with their guard play. I think Clemson's very, very live. That's the thing. They played the team basketball where if they just play really, really good team basketball, that's what's going to beat UConn at the end of the day. A Huskies team that can beat you a million different ways. They're going to have to lose to someone who's going to be technically sound. And honestly, that may be Clemson. Right now, if you like Clemson, you're still getting 35-1 to win this tournament. So it's still not too late to buy in on them. I mean, they're the second least favorite here, or the second underdog, I should say, but behind NC State, who's at 100-1, which honestly, they were 120-1 before the tournament. Why wouldn't you even sprinkle, $3 or $4 on NC State at this point? Just because $3 would pay $300. I mean, you're going to spend that on a little scratcher lottery ticket anyway. You might as well throw it on NC State for a nice payout. But you're still getting a good payout with Clemson. You're still getting a good payout with Duke at 21-1. But I would take Duke at 35-1 before I would take Gonzaga. Before I would take Creighton at 23-1. I like it better than Alabama. Even Marquette potentially. I think Marquette's a little bit more tricky of a team. Almost the same mirror as Clemson, which, to beat Clemson is going to have to be a Clemson type of team, and that's the way Marquette can play. Man, you just really think it's UConn's to lose, but at the end of the day, someone's going to try to say something about that. If we get the UConn-Purdue matchup, that wouldn't shock me either at the end of the day. But we'll see if one of these other teams like a Duke, a Clemson, can sneak on in there and really make some noise, even Illinois here on Saturday night. So good slate of games for the next 2 days in college basketball. Good luck, whichever path you take. All right, let's get to the baseball for today. And we have the two games. The first game is the makeup from yesterday, 1:41 Eastern with Peralta and Quintana. Quintana for the Mets, Peralta the pitcher for the Brewers. Let me go ahead and get my boxes up here for the Major League Baseball for today. That way I can refer back to some of these pitching numbers from last year. But at the end of the day, neither one of these two pitchers is going to super impress me. The fact that Quintana is the opening day pitcher for the Mets, to where they've had Jacob deGrom for many years, and the top-notch aces. The Mets do not have that this year. So that's going to be the first thing that I mentioned is, and this does not just go for this game, but I think it goes for the season. The Mets still have a formidable lineup of hitters. So to think that they're not going to be able to score some runs and give up some runs, I think is a premonition that you don't want to have. I think this could be an over team by far this season. The Mets going to be able to get some pop in the bat. They're going to be able to score, and then their pitching is going to let them down on the front end. That's going to tax that bullpen, and then that's going to open things up for runs to be scored. The Brewers, I think they have the same thing. Obviously Corbin Burns is off to the Orioles, where he had a nice day yesterday. The Mets have Hauser, who was on the Brewers last year. So what kind of rotation are we going to get from Milwaukee? And they have a little bit of pop in the bat as well. So I would expect this to be a higher scoring game today with Peralta and Quintana for the Mets. Peralta last season, let's see what his stats were. He did play 30 games, 165 innings pitched, which is a lot. Just 131 hits, which is pretty good. Just 71 earned runs allowed over those 165 innings. All right, so that's not the worst by far. But it's Freddie Peralta. You think of him more of a number 2 or number 3 pitcher, not an ace out of the hole, and that's what the Brewers are bringing to the table today. So I would look for this to be potentially a higher scoring game here on opening day, the makeup at Citi Field. Good matchup in Philadelphia with Strider and Wheeler. These two know each other well. The Braves and Phillies know each other well. Of course, the last 2 years in the postseason, the Phillies have been the kryptonite to the Braves. So we'll get a chance here to get a little bit of a redemption on opening day. 61 degrees and cloudy is the forecast. Mid-50s and cloudy, the forecast at Citi Field. But what do you want to say? You got two good pitchers, two strong lineups. I mean, it's just a toss-up either way you want to play it. I mean, the game's lined like that. Atlanta minus 130, Philly plus 110. You want to say maybe a tie in the first inning bet, but I mean, both of these pitchers, and the ballpark's so small, a pop fly can leave the yard at any time. So really just a good matchup, no play for me. These two teams can score a ton of runs, even with good pitching on the mound. So just buyer beware, whatever you do in this matchup today. Chris Bassett will get a chance for the Blue Jays tonight and see if they can win their second game in 2 days over the Rays with Aaron Savali. He'll be new to the pitching rotation for the Rays coming over from the Yankees. The lineup for the Rays just it's concerning a little bit. And a lot, and I'll say this: a lot of these teams, when I'm looking through their lineups yesterday, there is a lot of no names. I mean, there's obviously a lot of these guys are going to be good. They're Major League Baseball players, so you can't call them a no name. But you're going to really have to do some investigating and watching before I think you can get heavily invested in a lot of these teams. I'm thinking Tampa Bay is going to have a strong season, but are they? Are they? I mean, they need to get a couple of their players back. I mean, they're missing Taylor Walls, Josh Lowe, they're missing. So they definitely have a couple of injury concerns. The Blue Jays, their key hitters come through yesterday. Bichette, Springer. All right, he had a home run yesterday. Guerrero. So if these guys can keep it up, then I would edge out the Blue Jays in this scenario again potentially. The Blue Jays just didn't. I mean, the Rays just didn't impress me at the end of the day, and the Blue Jays were able to do what they weren't able to do last year, and that's just kind of pile on some runs and make it hard for you to beat them. Bassett's a good pitcher on the road, so I would actually lean with the Blue Jays again here over Tampa. Tampa, keep an eye on them. Everyone's saying that they're still going to be this really, really good team, but they're in a tough division. And if the Blue Jays can be better than what they were, someone's going to have to drop some wins from last year. I don't know. I don't think it's going to be Baltimore. And the Yankees, the more and more you look at that lineup, they really do have some serious pop. Soto really is a game changer for them, potentially. So if the Yankees stay up, the Orioles stay up, and the Blue Jays are a little bit better, then that could be bad news for Tampa Bay at the end of the day. So I would almost lean with the Blue Jays in this one. I'm trying to find one or two baseball plays I like and kind of just ride with it. Everything else is a little bit sketchy for sure. Like how about this one? All right, we have Perez and Puck for the Pirates and the Marlins. I mean, this is, again, a tough matchup, a game that went to extra innings yesterday. Martin Perez last year, though, 10-4 for him. Let's see. He played 35 games last year, 141 innings pitched. He did give up 150 hits, 93 Ks to 49 walks. So it's not like he's a strikeout master, just a crafty veteran, but he was able to get to 10 wins last year. As far as Puck goes, AJ Puck, or Puke is how it really looks like. The lefty is 56 games played last year, or 58 games played, 56.2 innings pitched. So he's coming out of the bullpen to get into the rotation, and we'll just have to see how that fares for him. But he does have more strikeouts than innings pitched. Great strikeout to ball ratio, 78-13. So we'll see how he does in the starting role here for the Marlins. So no play here for me. That could be one of those ties in the first inning plays if you want to get some instant gratification. Good pitching numbers, or decent numbers enough to where the first time through the rotation you can have some success. Pirates, Marlins, 7:10 Eastern Standard Time from Lone Depot Park in Miami. The Yankees and Astros will get at it again. Carlos Rodon against Christian Javier. A lot of questions about these two pitchers and how successful can they be. You always think Javier is a little bit better than what he shows. Rodon, you always kind of take him with a fine eye of eek. 3-8 overall last year, 6.85 ERA for Rodon. He did have some injury issues. He just played 14 games last season, just 64.1 innings pitched, 64 Ks to 28 walks. But that 6.85 ERA concerning. He'll get a fresh slate, though, and we'll just have to see how he responds from that. 10-5 overall for Javier. He was 4.56 ERA last season, 159 strikeouts for him in his 102 innings pitched. So that is strong. 162 innings pitched. So that is strong. 62 walks. So that's more than 2-1. So a decent pitcher by standards for sure. He had trouble there in the postseason. That's where he melted down a little bit. So how is he able to rebound from that? I think you have enough pop in the bats again where if you want to try for that over, which Got there yesterday. You can try for that again today with Rodon and Javier. I just think the Yankees can put up, I think, 4, 5, 6 runs most every game. I don't think Javier is going to slow them down. And the Astros are going to be able to hold serve at home in that same type of deal, being able to score a few runs. So the 8 o'clock, that's an Apple TV game. So if you remember that old trick and you have your baseball package on your Direct TV or whatever you still have going on, your YouTube TV, know that you need to have your Apple TV to get this game on at all. Otherwise, you will not see it. Red Sox and the Mariners, Pivetta and George Kirby are the pitchers tonight. Kirby has been fantastic for the Mariners. 13-10 last season, 3.35 ERA, 172 strikeouts last season, which is a lot. Just 19 walks. So that's a great disparity between those two. As far as Pivetta goes, Nick Pivetta last season played 38 games, 142.2 innings pitched. He did have a lot of strikeouts himself, 183 and just 50 walks. This could be a tie in your first inning bet. Well, I could see this being 0-0 or even 1-1 at most, but more likely 0-0. Two decent pitchers here. The offenses, I'm not going to trust them against these guys so much. Now, the Red Sox were able to get out to a nice lead last night and hold on. So maybe that's optimism for having more pop in their bat than expected. But I think Kirby is just a better pitcher than what they had on the mound yesterday. So potentially no runs scored in this first inning with the Mariners and the Red Sox. The Guardians are at Oakland again. Ross Stripling comes over from Toronto to pitch for the A's, and Logan Allen is the pitcher for the Guardians. Logan Allen last season, 7-8 overall in his 28 games played, 3.81 ERA, 119 strikeouts in those 125 innings for him. So we'll see how he sits as that number 2 starter for the Guardians, who win fairly easily last night. Stripling last year, 0-5, 5.36 ERA. He just played 22 games, 89 pitches. He had some injury concerns last year as well. Good K to walk ratio, 70-16. But the Oakland, obviously, they just don't have a good team. Guardians, can they put up enough offense, get the Stripling a little bit, and go ahead and win this game? Now, Cleveland's priced cheaply. I'll say that, minus 140. Oakland is plus 120. So that's a cheap enough number to fade Oakland at the end of the day here, if you want to carry forward with the Guardians. And that might be the case here. I mean, that's one of the better plays I like. Maybe a little Blue Jays Guardians parlay together. That would be one I would look at for sure. The Rockies are a bad team. They, now Freeland's a bad pitcher, but I don't know what offense they're going to give you. Cal Control, who comes over from the Guardians, will be the pitcher for the Rockies. He was 4-7 last year, 5.24 ERA for the legacy pitcher. His father played in the majors. In his 19 games last year, just 99 innings pitched. So he had a little bit of injury issues as well. Not a very good strikeout to K ratio, only 58 strikeouts in those 99 innings, 35 walks. He can give up the home run ball as well. In the Diamondbacks, I mean, you just got to think that they're going to carry on to what they did last night. Now, it was feast or famine. It was really that one inning. They got the 14 runs and nothing besides that. They didn't need any more. So you'd like to see them continue to score runs up and down the lineup through the innings, especially when they get into a bullpen. And you got to give the Rockies bullpen a little bit of credit. They're able to hold the Diamondbacks down. But you just think that this is going to be the same type of deal as last night, almost in a way. Merrill Kelly is the pitcher for the Diamondbacks. He's a good pitcher, 12-8 last year, 3.29 ERA. So you really do not need to ask a lot here for the Diamondbacks to win this game. You're going to get a good performance from Kelly against this Rockies lineup. He might give up 2 runs or 3 runs or so, but nothing more than that. And the Diamondbacks are going to be able to probably get the control a little bit here and put some more runs up. So I would expect the Diamondbacks to be a decent play at home. Again, in fact, if they go ahead and sweep the Rockies, don't be surprised by that this weekend. We can go ahead and say that right now. That would be the more comfortable thing of any of these. Really, I wouldn't be surprised if you see the Guardians. Now, I have offensive questions about the Guardians offensively at the end of the day. So maybe that's enough for Oakland to outscore them in one of these games. But I would be most comfortable with the Diamondbacks sweeping through the weekend, as well as the Guardians. And if the Blue Jays can win tonight, don't be surprised if they get the 4-game sweep down there in Tampa Bay as well. All right, and 2 more games on the board for tonight. We have the Giants and the Padres with Harrison and Musgrove. Musgrove already pitched. He had a rough outing in Korea against the Dodgers. Just 7 games played last year for Kyle Harrison, so he's going to be a relative unknown. 35 strikeouts to 11 walks in his 34 innings pitched. Musgrove, for him, he can be good or he can be bad, but his ERA right now is at 16.88. So that can hopefully only get better for him, or it'll be a long night. This will be a no play at the end of the day for me and Petco. San Diego is minus 150 plus 130. And the Dodgers are at home against the Cardinals. They'll have Miller on the mound, Bobby Miller, 11-4 last year, 3.76 ERA. Good amount of strikeouts, 119 in his 124 innings and just 32 walks over that span. And then let's see here. As far as Thompson goes for the Cardinals, Zach Thompson, the lefty, last season, just 25 games played. He started just 9 of those, 66.1 innings pitched, 72 strikeouts, which is good, to 25 walks. So that's good. This could be a no run in the first inning potentially if the Mr. Thompson can just get a good start here against the Dodgers. But that's a tough call, trying to hold this Dodgers lineup at bay. Anytime you're going to get Ohtani in the first round or first inning, or Freeman or Betts, you're just asking for trouble. All it takes is a home run to beat you. If you're looking for no score or a tie in the first inning. That game on Apple TV as well, so you won't see that. All right. It is 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Wow, we do fly by. The goal is to get out in an hour and move on with our day, get me in the gym after I get my mind thinking clearly doing this program. But we'll keep going a little bit here as we have a full NBA slate as well. The NHL slate, let me take a gander at that. I think it's going to be a little bit slower night on ice, so maybe we'll just start with that. Yeah, just one game in the NHL, Buffalo and the Devils. Buffalo needs to win this at home to stay relevant in the playoff race, as do the Devils, really. Both of these teams won't make the playoffs. It's kind of what it's looking at. No play here on that. In the NBA, on the card with that, we'll take a quick look at that. The Clippers are at the Magic. They're a 1.5 point favorite. The Clippers struggling to get wins as of late. Orlando, I will say a bad loss. They didn't take advantage of their bully ball techniques against Golden State the other night. So interesting matchup there. The Lakers will be at the Pacers. These two teams played last Sunday and scored 1 million points. They could also do that again tonight especially now that the Lakers get much needed rest on this road trip after back-to-back wins with over the Bucks and the Grizzlies. Pacers get thumped their last time out. Their guys should be rested after getting benched early in that game. A slight favorite for the Pacers at home here, -3.5. Lakers are hot. Don't be surprised to see the Lakers win this game over the Pacers. In fact, I would lean that way if you're getting points and a positive number there. The Pistons and the Wizards will be in no play on that. Golden State is in Charlotte. Charlotte showed some fight against Cleveland. They're a young team. They still want to win. They just can't put the basket in the ball in the hoop at times to get relevant baskets and points on the board. Charlotte tough or can have a tough time here tonight against the Golden State defense who can lock you down at times. This will be interesting. You would think Golden State would roll at home as a 12-point favorite, but we'll see. This game could be a lot more high scoring than you would think. 217 is going to be a low total here. Charlotte just plays a little bit better at home offensively, and they can hit some threes. Bridges and Brandon Miller, if he can get hot, Steph gets hot, you might see this game go a little bit more up and down than you would think. Kuminga, can he get back into the fold? We'll have to see if he's healthy or not. But that could be a higher scoring game than 217, I think. Now, the Bulls are in Brooklyn. Brooklyn hasn't completely given up yet. The Bulls playing feisty. Nice win the other night over the Pacers. They're both of these teams. Well, the Nets are trying to get into a play-in. Bulls trying to hold on to their play-in status. I would expect a close game here and no play. A run for the hills on this. You would think Cleveland would rebound after their loss to Charlotte at home tonight against Philadelphia. It's really Tyrese Maxey and nothing after that for the 76ers at this point. They need Joel Embiid back. When will they get him? There's even talk of the Sixers potentially even missing the playoffs at this point. But they could be in a bad spot tonight, Philadelphia at Cleveland. Cleveland at home, good atmosphere. Could be a good opportunity to take Cleveland. They lay the 8 at home, 212.5. But I would look at something like Cleveland team points or even a Philadelphia 76ers team points under in that one. Cleveland has enough defense to bottle up the 76ers and keep them under 100 points scored for sure. Good game with Phoenix and Oklahoma City. Do we get Gilchrist Alexander back tonight? That'll be a big question. He wasn't in the lineup in their loss to Houston the other night. Phoenix with the big win over Joker and the Nuggets here on Wednesday night. So the Suns, 2.5-point favorites on the road in Oklahoma City. 226 the total there. Good game. Young Bucks against the old guard. We'll see what we get. Portland and Miami is a game. Portland's not good. Miami, just you don't know what you're going to get from them until playoff time. Just too big of a number here, 14.5 over under 209. So you're just asking for trouble playing with that game. Either way you do it. The Knicks are at San Antonio. The Knicks are -9.5 over under 212. The Knicks have been great. Now, San Antonio has been playing very, very well, too. Do you get Wembanyama back? If Wemby is back, then potentially a funner game for sure. In fact, if Wemby is back, this would be a good game to watch. If you have all your extra TVs, you're looking to throw something else on. He is must-watch TV. Victor Wembanyama. He's played fantastic. The Knicks are on fire. We loved them the other night in their team prop. Total points over the last couple of times out. And where they've been a lower scoring team, they've been able to really find their offensive output. DiVincenzo has been hot again where he cooled off. So a lot of points to lay on the road with the Knicks, but they've been covering these big point spreads as well. The big key here is will Wembanyama play for the Spurs? T-Wolves and Nuggets, that's a big divisional matchup for that game. The T-Wolves have been fantastic defensively all year. Defensive studs are the Nuggets as well. No Murray the other night. Can Jamal Murray get back into the mix tonight? We'll have to see. And again, with the NBA, you don't know anything about the injuries until closer to tip-off. They'll never tell you a thing. But the Nuggets are minus 6.5. Over-under is 211 in this game, so low over-under in that one. Utah has given up on the season. They're catching 7.5 at home against Houston, who needs us to try to somehow sneak into the play-in round. And Houston's been red hot. I would expect Houston to win this game. They're 7.5-point favorites, over under 230.5. Now, that might be too big of a number for them to cover on the road. But again, it feels like Utah, for the most part, has just quit on the season. So they're a fade train. Rockets playing good ball right when they need to at the right time. And the rematch of the other night where Dallas thumped the Kings. Dallas a 1-point underdog, over under 230. And I told Del Grande yesterday that the Mavericks just seem to be playing better and better every time they take the court. Luka and Kyrie, two misfits working together as one super juggernaut of offensive output. And then they have some good supplemental pieces as well. I just think the Mavs are a little bit better than Sacramento from top to bottom in their lineup. And I would trust Dallas in this lineup, in this matchup more than anything. All right, so if I have a best bet in the NBA, I would lean Dallas. I would lean with the Cavaliers at home. Maybe take the Sixers team points under their total. I think we could have a higher scoring game with Golden State and Charlotte. And I would take the Lakers again. I do love the Pacers. They've been a fun team for me. But something about this Lakers team, they just have a little bit of magic and mojo working here. So I would lean that route with them. They're catching points. And maybe an opportunity there. Best play in the college basketball, I'm just going to go ahead and take Duke in that one, and then I'm going to lean on Purdue to move forward over Gonzaga. And then the Major League Baseball, we'll take a look at Toronto. We'll take a look at Arizona again. And I think you got to throw Cleveland on that list just by default as well. And we could get a lot of runs in that Mets-Brewers game to start the day. All right, one other thing, we'll get on out of here. There is a NASCAR race in Richmond on Sunday night. The winner of the Richmond race in recent years, they've been the same guys, but it's, Denny Hamlin, who is only a plus 430 favorite, seems to be the logical choice. But he's up there with Christopher Bell. Like, where did Christopher Bell come from, you ask? He's at the top of the odds board every week now in NASCAR. Well, he's in that Hamlin scenario. I mean, he has the Toyota. He has the same setup. Talking about it like him, Martin Truex, okay, Bubba Wallace, even per se, Tyler Reddick. All those guys have the same type of car that they're working with. So any of those guys really are, not so much Bubba, but he could get there eventually for sure. I mean, he's definitely been racing closer to the top than towards the bottom. That's for sure. But you're getting good odds. At least Tyler Reddick is 15-1. He hasn't won here, but at least he has the setup and the teammates and the oversight of guys who have. I mean, Truex has won this a few times. Denny has won this. Kyle Busch is someone you need to look at. He's won this race a few times. This is one of the tracks where the old savvy veterans tend to take over. And in the booth for Fox is Clint Boyer and Kevin Harvick. Both of these guys have won this race several times. So they're going to be able to give really good insight on the broadcast come Sunday evening about listen to what they're saying. because if they really like someone, then try to bet that live. And that could be a Kyle Busch if he's able to put things together this time around, etc. Now, that being said, Kyle Larson can win this race. He's 9-1. William Byron, 11-1. Chase Elliott's 18-1. You can't rule them out. Logano's won this thing a few times. He's 22-1 to win it. Chastain's been racing good, 20-1 for him to win it. Alex Bowman has won this race before. He's 55-1. Again, he has the same type of setup as Byron, as Larson, with the Hendrick cars. And Bowman was in contention last week before he fell off. So at 55-1 and the former race winner, if you really want to take a flyer, that would be the one to take on this. So if I'm going to pick a winner in this race, I don't know. I think Truex has been racing good. I think he can win this, to be honest. So Martin Truex at plus 600 would probably be my pick here at the end of the day. Again, you'd like to get better odds than some of these guys to win than what they are. Ty Gibbs is plus 850. He's been priced up towards the top lately, so you feel like he's getting ready to break through and get into the winner's circle as well. All right, so give me Truex if we're going to have to pick a driver for the race. All right, everyone. You can hit our YouTube channel, Deep End 757 Broadcasting, for the replay. It can be heard throughout the day as we lead into your sports afternoon and your sports evening. Oh, yeah, English Championship. Let's take just one quick gander at that. You have an opportunity for a lot of teams to have some team goals here. And I'll try to do a Friday soccer paycheck here for the EPL stuff at 4 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. But you do have a full slate of English Championship. Team prop goals over 2.5. I think you have a chance with these teams. Leicester at 8:30 this morning to go over their 2.5. Coventry, as they jockey for playoff position, over 2.5 for them. Sheffield Wednesday has kind of gotten back to where they were as a bad team. So Swansea on the road, who can score over 2.5, is a nice payout for that. Rotherham gives up a ton of goals. So Preston North End, all these in the English Championship, which is the league below the Premier League. So Preston North End, a good chance to get over their 2.5 goal prop as well. Norwich has been on fire. Plymouth gives up a lot of goals. So Norwich a chance to get over their 2.5 goal prop. And Leeds and Ipswich, you always got to kind of throw on that list as well. Leeds will play a late game, 4 p.m. Eastern at Watford. Ipswich is on the road at Blackburn. Maybe like the total over in the Ipswich and Blackburn rather than just the Ipswich team goals. So there you go. There's some picks for the championship if you need some of that too. Okay, go ahead and click our YouTube channel and subscribe. Deepend757.com for replay. Good luck on everything you have going on. Enjoy your sports weekend, and we'll get back to you Tuesday morning. All right, this is the Round Robin. I am Stephen Murray, broadcasting from our Deep End studios in Virginia Beach, Virginia. Good luck. Have a good day at work. Safe weekend. Don't do anything stupid.